got a colorful.
Hey guys, it's Tyler Kumani with Eargazmic Media. I'm here interviewing Brittany Rose, aka Jordan.
Hey.
She's a longtime friend of mine, and she's here to discuss her book, Written Roses, as well as other things that she's doing in her life.
Yes.
I recently purchased it, so I can't wait to read it. So we're gonna get into this interview.
Yes.
All right. So,
I'm ready.
what inspired you to write this book?
What inspired me to write it was pretty much, so like when I first started writing, it was more so like as a way to like express myself or kind of a way to kind of like talk or like get out my feelings like in the moment versus like going to somebody to do it. I had like a space like in my phone or a piece of paper to like write on. So for me, like that was kind of easier, especially like in the times where I wasn't really like too like clear on like what I was feeling. Like being able to write kind of like helped me gain that understanding or at least like have a way to kind of articulate like my thoughts. So that's kind of like what got me started. But what made me like want to write the book was when I started sharing like my words on like social media, like Twitter, Instagram. And a lot of people started just telling me that a lot of what I was posting was either, really positive or it was really like necessary for them like in that moment. So that's kind of what like inspired me even more to want to keep putting it out there and realizing like, okay, well, even though it's for me, like other people can benefit from it too. And I kind of like, because sometimes people, they have feelings or emotions, but they don't know how to articulate it as clear as like I might know how, just because, I feel like I've always been kind of good at writing. So being able to have that gift and use that gift for other people who don't really have it, that's kind of like my mission or what I enjoy doing. So just like having a space to be able to put out my words of positivity, something that so many people need just to like refer to sometimes, is kind of what inspired me to want to do something like that. And so now we have the physical copy of it.
That's dope. That's a big accomplishment, like writing a book.
Thank you.
How did that feel being like a published author?
I'm still getting used to it. I'm definitely still getting used to it, but I'm starting to see myself more as like that author and like that writer. Because I get people all the time, they're like, yeah, like you wrote a book? Like, I'm like, yeah, like, and it is an accomplishment. So be just like realizing that and like just being proud of like my work. But I think sometimes like we're always like going to be our biggest critics. And so like in our minds, we always have this like greater idea in our heads of like, how much higher we want to go, or like where we want to go in life.
My dog's taking a drink.
I'm thirsty. But so like for me, when I put this book out, a lot of like what was written in the book, I feel like for me, I had kind of already gone through it. So I was just at a place where I was ready to kind of allow other people to like embrace it. And I had already, been in the process of like brainstorming or thinking about, okay, well, what am I going to do next? That is something that I have on my mind. Like, I don't want to just put this thing out and just stop right there. Like, my thing is to continue like putting out creativity, putting out wisdom, positivity. So I'm always like talking to God, like telling God, like, continue to like bless me with the wisdom, bless me with knowledge that I can put it out. So I feel like now I have like a greater like awareness or like need to kind of like just be more like connected to like what's going on and just be more in tune, because I can see a sign and not even be aware of it. And it's like, that's a sign, like that's something you could like write about her. So yeah.
That's dope. That also falls into the next question I was going to ask. How has your poetry quote and your book as well helped you grow into the woman, author, or poet that you are today?
It's interesting because I feel like definitely. So I had already had like the script and everything like ready, but then it's weird because the closer it got to me like publishing it and like sharing it with everyone else, I feel like I was getting put into positions where it was like, all right, like, you're putting this out for other people, but it's time to like apply it even more. So I was going through situations where it was forcing me to refer to these simple quotes for me to just get through the day, or to kind of like not allow myself to get affected by certain things. So it's definitely like helped me grow, because this is like my reference. like, oh, let me refer to this quote, or I know I have something written about that. Like, let me go find it and read it so I can, like, change my mind about certain situations at times. So, showing out. I love dogs, though.
He's out of pocket.
So it's definitely, I would say it's definitely helped me kind of just being in places where it's like me actually applying like my words, because you can't talk about something if you've never really been through it. So, me just, it's kind of like going back like full circle, because a lot of the stuff that's in here was kind of, when I was like in college, undergrad. But there's still stuff that's happened after that to where it's like, all right, like, let me come to this book. And it's cool because it's like they're my own personal words. So being able to refer back to my own words is just like a reminder, like to myself, like, just having like those self-talk. So it's cool.
So is your book a little bit, does it feel a little bit more vulnerable to have people reading your words in a book instead of you being on stage doing poetry? Is that a little bit more vulnerable versus doing poetry sometimes?
I think it is definitely, because, I can get on stage and, perform a piece or something, and I can kind of feel the people's reactions right then and there versus, them having it, reading the book, I'm not sure how they're going to feel, how people are going to react to it, but that also sometimes makes me like more comfortable in a way. But I think like for me, I don't feel as vulnerable, because I feel like when I put this out, I was in a position where I was ready to like put it out, and I was ready to kind of allow myself to be vulnerable. Because I'm like, if I don't put it out and if I don't allow myself to be vulnerable to certain things, like I'm not going to grow, and I'm not going to, it might prevent me from doing other things or accepting other opportunities. But I mean, you still have those, because this is like, it's not really specific, but it's specific enough to where people can know that, like, okay, she's maybe gone through certain situations that inspired her to write something like that. So vulnerable in that sense. But I mean, I definitely think I'm ready. I was open for it. So, and I think just the more I grow, the more comfortable I become with kind of like sharing my truth, because it's like there's a lot of other people who might be going through similar things like this too, but aren't comfortable enough with like sharing it. But it's like people need that voice, so I'm like, let me allow myself to like be that voice. But I mean, for the most part, I've been getting, I think like the positive feedback I've been receiving has really like helped me be able to be more open with this, because you see how it's been impacting like other people and how it's been inspiring other people. So that kind of balances it all out.
That's so like that. So why is spreading positivity and such a mission for you, and what does it mean to be a light? Because I see you got that tatted as well. So what? It up.
It's not small. It's fine.
It's cute. So what does that mean to you? What does that mean for you and your mission as an author and a poet?
For me, I mean, I just think like, there's so much like darkness in the world. There's so many people who, feed off of negativity, and who, like, some people like enjoy that. But I think I've kind of always, even growing up, I think I've always kind of just been like that person who's been like the happy, positive. So but I was never really like comfortable enough with like being so out there with it. So I think now that I'm in a place where I'm more confident in myself, and I feel like I've realized my purpose. I feel like now having that confidence is what allows me to be, who I already was. It's just kind of like investing in it a little bit more and like bringing it out a little bit more. So just being that person, and it could be as simple as, smiling at somebody or asking someone how their day is going, just spreading that positivity, because you never know, who needs it. And you being that person to like spread that light and spread that form of positivity, that can change someone's day all the way around, by just, being positive. So, I enjoy it. I think because there's, you kind of get back what you give. So it's like, you know, you give positivity, you receive that back. You give love, you receive that back. And then just as far as like, you know, being a light, I feel like that's something like God tells us to do. Like, let your light shine. So just really being that person to like be a reflection like of God, of love, and just have it in a way where it's easy for people to understand. And it doesn't have to be all, you know, like biblical or like religious or, you know, super like in depth. It can be something that's supposed to be a light. And people, you know, even when people see my tattoo, they'll ask me like, oh, like, what does that mean? And that opens up the discussion, and that conversation can inspire somebody else to, you know, think about it in a different way. So, yeah, that's what be a light means. When I think of that, I think of like the little sparkle emoji. Like,
That's cute. But you are like, ever since I've known you, you've always been like the sweet, kind person. Like, and I feel like, to be honest, sometimes growing up, I've seen people take you for granted, and I feel like I may have taken you for granted growing up sometimes because you are just very sweet. And then being in the world, you feel like you have to be some jagged edge or something. Exactly. But it's like you need people like you to like remind you that, you know, the real truth is like being loved, a loving person, being like, as you said. So, you know, like, you are a blessing to a lot of people.
And it's interesting that you say that because, like, I know, like, growing up, I used to be like really quiet, and I feel like I kind of was like not a pushover, but I was so nice. Like I remember like this one girl, she'd ask me like to borrow $20 or something, and I let her like borrow $20, but I don't think she ever gave it back. Or something happened, and I'm just like, dang, like I really gave her $20. But I feel like now I'm at a point where I'm realizing like it's okay to be this positive, loving person, but it's also okay to establish these boundaries. Like, you know, you can say no to people or you can be firm with people. Like, you don't have to be that person to just, you know, say yes or just give people like what they want all the time. Like, because that's gonna, you know, run you over too. And I think the older I get, the more I realize that like it's not me being mean or rude. I just have to set certain boundaries. So that's definitely something that like I've learned how to do for myself, and even like I'm still learning like, okay, how to have this balance of like, yeah, I'm like this nice person, but like sorry. I think it's good to like have those boundaries to know like, you know, yeah, I could be this nice person, but to have this boundary as well and like establish this like expectation for like people to like respect you and treat you like just the same as they would, you know, would treat anybody else. So yeah, it's definitely a learning experience. I've definitely grown since like years ago. Like,
I was gonna say,
I look at myself now like, wow, I've grown so much.
Yeah, you definitely have. You've become an even brighter light than you were like younger days at Bright Acres and stuff. Like you've definitely grown into like a beautiful. Our family be like, yeah. So you've touched a lot.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I just want to know. So what songs did you listen to while you were in the process of writing Written Roses?
Well, that process, like, it was like a year process. So, like, I had already had, like, some of the work I already had, and then some of it is new. But when I had met with, like, my original publisher, and he started kind of telling me, you know, to get the final script together, and we would have meetings and talk about, you know, well, what are your intentions for the book? Like, what is it you want the people to get out of it, but what is it you want to get out of it as well? So, like, the final, like, I went through, like, so many different changes, figuring out, you know, like, what theme do I want, and even, you know, just the chapters, because I had all this work, but I'm like, well, how do I, you know, make it into, like, a simpler way? How do I condense it? So then, like, you know, I looked over stuff, and, you know, to figure out, well, what can go in this chapter? This might be a good chapter. And I do listen to a lot of music, so, like, some of the songs that I will listen to, Girl by The Internet, like, that's a really cool song. Like, I love that song. I listen to, like, a lot of Kendrick. I'm trying to see. Yeah, I'm trying to see what songs in particular. Like, Poetic Justice is definitely one. Sing About Me, I'm Dying of Thirst. And some of it is not even just for the lyrics, it's like the instrumentals too. Like, listening to those instrumentals to kind of like inspire me. J. Cole, like Intro and like January 28th, like those are really good songs that kind of like get me into those modes. So just a lot of songs that can kind of just a lot of like songs, a lot of people who like I listen to, like I said, like Kendrick, J. Cole, but I would just listen to like even on SoundCloud, there's these people called Selection Radio, and what they do is they put together like an hour, 2 hour like playlist of like different mixes and like different sounds. So like I would kind of turn that on to kind of help me like get my focus, get me into a certain mood. Yeah, so just a lot of like just like chill music that kind of like calms me down and, like you said, gets me into the mood. But I can't think of like a lot of like specific ones.
Okay, yeah. But you give a lot, so that's cool. So when can we expect the next book from Written Rose?
The next book from Written Rose, definitely within like the next 2 or 3 years. I would say like 2 years, because there's different things that I want to do with this book. Like I want to do like just different visuals for it, just other different projects to kind of like not only make myself more connected to it, but like bring other people more connected to it as well. And like to open up that discussion about love or about passion or identity or growth. So there's a lot of different things just with this that I can do. But like I said, I don't want this to be, my only book. And I probably will continue to do like the chapbook versions of it just because those are a little more simple. So I would do that. And I actually started brainstorming like last week for a possible book. So I would say, yeah, within like the next year, 2 years. I'm in grad school right now, so I'm finishing up my second year. And then after that, I have to do like field work and practicum. So that's going to take time. But like definitely like once I get my master's, I'll be, ready to like really even do more with this. But I'm still trying to find that balance to where I can do school and my brand and book, because I don't want to just do either or. Like I want to be able to do both, because both are important to me. So I'm not going to make the time for it, but I think with the way my schedule is right now, it kind of gives me like that flexibility to focus on school and to focus on, this, because some days, like, I won't go to work on some days because they don't schedule me. So instead of me being like, oh, like, what is there to do? I kind of see that as time to, like, brainstorm or to just think about, well, what else could I be doing? So, yeah, but definitely within the next 2 or 3 years. I'm excited.
That's good. I'm proud of you. I'm happy for you. So your next projects are going to be, like, visuals towards Written Rose. Or towards Written Roses?
Yes. So towards the book, but like I do projects like in between. So like with my poetry shows, like I haven't had a poetry show. My last one was April 21st, and then my book signing was August 11th. So that was, I had live performers and vendors there, and people have been asking me like, are you going to host another poetry show? Which I am. So right now I'm actually in the process of like figuring out like a different venue that I can do it at, just because I want to get connected to other venues in the area as well. So I might be hosting another poetry show soon, hopefully within like the next month or so, just to give people like that opportunity and like bring that platform back. Because, I enjoy it, and other people enjoy it too. So, like I said, I kind of like to be able to provide that platform. And then I'm actually in the process of planning for the second annual Poetry Toy Drive, which we hosted last year. So, I'll be hosting that again this year with Nico and a few others who are helping us plan it. So, that's kind of like another project, but that's more so, it's not directly related like to Written Roses, but it is related to roses in general and the brand and like what it is that I do with that brand. So yeah, and it's just different like other collaborations with people like you and the other people. So yeah.
That's really dope. I'm happy to see you grow.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I had another question. Yeah. Okay. I think we're done. I think I asked you all the questions, though. I can't wait to read the book.
Yes.
I've been hearing good things about it. Actually, my godmom told me about it too. She was like, "Yeah, I heard you."
I saw her in a nail shop actually, and I was talking to her about it.
Yeah. She was like, "Yeah, Jordan has a book." I was like, "Yeah, she does. Actually, I'm gonna get it like in the next 2 weeks or so." So I got it. I'm gonna tell everybody
Yes,
too. So
yes,
yeah,
yes.
we're proud of you over
Thank
here.
you so much.
You're welcome, and thank you for coming
No
and stopping
problem.
by.
No problem.
He's my dog.
Guts, dark energy we don't touch. All jewelry's beyond touch, and they give a nigga colorful aura, like I got neon guts.
Higher than Elon Musk, so high stars eat our dust. And I got a colorful aura, like I got neon guts. Dark energies we don't touch, our jewelry's beyond touch. And I got a colorful aura, like I got neon
Yeah, fam, Pharrell on Mars with my fellow star. I'm like lightning striking in a metal rod. I say hello, God, and the